Hello participants, welcome to this session on decision tree. In the previous sessions we discussed about two different statistical techniques, linear regression and logistic regression. In this session we are going to focus on decision tree as a statistical technique algorithm that is available for you to analyze the data, and this comes under supervised machine learning algorithm. So what is a decision tree? It's a type of supervised learning algorithm that is mostly used for classification problems. The moment we say classification problem, you can clearly understand that we are trying to categorize them, classify them, A or B. Okay. Surprisingly, it works both for categorical and continuous dependent variables. So connecting the dots, linear regression is for continuous, logistic regression is for categorical. Now decision tree is available for both categorical and continuous dependent variables. So in this algorithm, we split the population into two or more homogeneous sets. And this is done based on most significant attributes or independent variables to make as distinct groups as possible. So how do we define a decision tree? A decision tree is a map of the possible outcomes of a series of related choices. Step by step, you are breaking the larger problem into smaller ones. And it allows an individual or organization to weigh possible actions against one another based on the cost, profitability, and the benefits. So, what we are trying to do is we are trying to construct a tree. How does a tree look? The tree has its own branches, and each branches can have its own sub branches. So, we are trying to create a decision tree in this format so that you are able to traverse through a decision making process with the help of the data that is available with you. So, as the name goes, it is more like a tree like model of discussions. So, they can be used either to drive informal discussion or to map out an algorithm that predicts the best choice mathematically. So, how does the decision tree work? I'm sure we all played this game during our school days when we first started accessing the desktops and the laptops. So, this is called as a chess ball. So we can understand decision tree how it works with the help of this chess ball, which is a classic game from Microsoft. So essentially you have a room with moving balls and you need to create walls such that the maximum area gets cleared off without the balls. That's how you play this game. So every time you split the room with a wall, you are trying to create two different populations within the same room. So decision tree also works in the same way, very much similar to the way you are playing this game. So from the top, you are actually splitting them into smaller buckets. Okay, every time you are splitting it into two populations and then splitting them further based on the data that is available with you. That's how chess ball works. So let's look at it with a practical example. Let's say you hosted a huge party and you want to know how many of your guests were non-vegetarian. So how can you solve this problem with decision tree? Look at the image here. Did the guest eat chicken? Yes means he is a non-vegetarian. No means okay, he could have eaten anything else. So let's check whether he has taken mutton. So did the guest eat mutton? If yes, then he is a non-vegetarian. If no, then you will check with him. Okay, boss, did you eat any seafood? If yes, he is still a non-vegetarian. And then of course you can add, then you can come to the conclusion, because these were the only three items available in the party. So with that you can come to the conclusion that if it is a no for everything, he is a vegetarian. You can have multiple scenarios like this to finally come to the conclusion. But I hope you are able to relate it to the past information of the learning from the previous slides. So what you are trying to do is, you are trying to take the bigger problem, break them into smaller parts. Thereby you are traversing through different branches to finally take the call. The last one, the sub branch, gives you the clarity of the solution to the problem that you have. That is, here in this case, how many of your guests were non-vegetarians? When you keep on passing through this, it's easier for you to identify how many guests are vegetarians. So let's try to understand this structure because there are basic terminologies with decision tree which you should be aware of. So root node, that is the basic one. That's where you are starting everything. Did the guest eat chicken? That's the first question that you asked. So that is called as a root node. The root node is the starting point of the tree, and at this point the first split is performed. This is where you start splitting the data. Now next comes the internal node. So you can clearly see, did the guest eat mutton? That is, only if they are going to split it further, it's called as a node. And you call it as the internal node here because you're going to split it further into multiple nodes. So each internal node represents a decision point, that is a predictive variable that eventually leads to the prediction of the outcome. The leaf or the terminal node. So this one represents the final class of the outcome. Therefore, they are also called as terminating nodes. By the way, how many leaf nodes are there in this image? Think about it for a second. You have 4 different leaf nodes or the terminal nodes. The first one, did the guest eat chicken? Non-veg, that is a leaf node. Did the guest eat mutton? Non-veg, that is a leaf node. That is the terminal node. Beyond that, you were not able to split it across, right? And then finally, in the last question, did the guest eat seafood? Both veg and non-veg are the terminal nodes here. So finally, you have 4 leaf or terminal nodes in this particular image. Branches, they are the connections between the nodes. They are represented as arrows in this image. And each branch represents a response such as yes or no, which will actually help you to identify, classify it correctly. So how does the decision tree algorithm work? It follows the simple steps. Step 1. Select the feature, that is the predictor variable that best classifies the data set into the desired classes and assign that feature to the root node. So in the previous question, does the person eat chicken? This is the best classification that can happen because most of them might have taken chicken. So based on that, you are classifying it. Traverse down from the root node while making relevant decisions at each internal node such that each internal node best classifies the data, just like we did in the previous slide. And keep repeating the process. That's what is the step 3. So root back to step 1 and repeat until you assign a class to the input data. So if you notice in the previous slide, till the point we reach the terminal node, whereby no further split up is possible, whereby you have traversed through the complete data and you have put everything in the form of a tree structure, then you can say that the algorithm is complete, the processing is complete. Okay, so this is how you create decision tree. To give you one more example in this space, I don't know how many of you play this 2020 game. That is 20 questions, not the cricket match of 2020. 20 questions when you play, if you logically think about it, this is exactly how you play 20 questions. Like for example, if you keep some political leader in your mind, like for example Narendra Modi, we may start with the basic question like, okay, is he a male? Yes, no. Okay, if it's yes, okay, next question. Is he a sports person? Yes, no. So no. That means there should be one more question asked that becomes the internal node. So you keep on playing this till you find the final answer where you cannot split it up, where you get an yes. So that's how decision trees are created. I hope you are able to visualize this and think from this point of view. Like the 20 questions, how do we do it in the form of decision tree? The advantage of the decision tree, when you look at it, first of all, it creates understandable rules. The biggest advantage of decision tree is this, and that's the reason a lot of people would like to use decision trees, because when you want to solve a problem and then show that solution to the person, to the end user, to the client, and when they ask you how did you derive the solution, ideally it should be explainable. And decision trees actually give you that understandable rules which will explain the total problem to you. So decision problems perform classification without requiring much computation. And decision trees are capable of handling both continuous and categorical variables. So when you start solving a lot of problems, you'll realize that you can actually assign cost and come up with a derivative of a number, which is a continuous variable, with the help of a decision tree. And decision trees provide a clear indication of which fields are more important for prediction and classification. That is the reason when you develop a decision tree, it is easier for you to identify which variables are playing a bigger role in this whole process, and that will actually help you to build a better decision tree. So what are the disadvantages? So decision trees are less appropriate for estimation tasks, where the goal is to predict the value of a continuous attribute. Even though it is technically possible, it may not give you accurate results. The kind of results that you may get using linear regression, you will not be able to achieve it with the help of a decision tree. And the decision trees are very much prone to errors in classification problems with many class and a relatively small number of training examples. So you need a lot of data to actually process a decision tree. But of course, for a lot of data and the number of features, the decision tree may look very complicated, which may make it slightly unexplainable or computationally more expensive to do that. But still, it is seen as a disadvantage. The decision trees can be computationally expensive to train. That is, the process of growing this tree across all the features with all the data, the computational power of the laptop should be much higher. The kind of resources that you may need to run the decision tree will be on the higher end, and the system will start fighting it out with you when you start implementing decision trees. So keep this in mind. These are some of the challenges of using decision trees. Now let's look at practical examples. Predicting and reducing the customer churn across many industries. Lot of companies are using decision tree in this aspect. What is a customer churn? That is a customer who is expected to leave, who is going to leave from the organization. Like for example, if you're using Airtel, so Airtel may run customer churn analysis using decision tree to find out who are the customers who have the probability of leaving now. Okay, I will explain this in detail in the next slide. This is one popular example. Second one is fraud detection in the insurance sector. That is, what kind of frauds that may happen when it comes to claims, the accidents and stuff. When it happens, there are a lot of claims that come up. It is important for you to analyze what is a fraudulent claim and what is not. Is there a way that I can use data to detect that? Yes, a decision tree can actually help you out. Based on the features that you identify, you can draw a tree and come to a conclusion whether it is a fraud or not, the claim that has come in. The third popular example is credit risk scoring in the banking and financial services. So what should be the final score, the credit score for a particular person? Depending on the data, can I draw a decision tree and finally come to the conclusion like what should be the credit risk scoring? So let's look at the example of customer churn prediction using decision tree. So how does a person react to a promotion that comes in? That's how we have drawn this decision tree. So received promotion, okay, yes. Yes, that means weekly online usage. If it is more than 8 hours means most of the customers stay back. If it is 4 to 8 hours, that means you need to check the number of reports. If it is less than 4 hours, 35% of the times the customer leaves. There is a churn. So can you look at the weekly online usage based on the prediction, based on the promotion that has been offered? And then based on the number of reports served, you are again splitting the whole tree. So if it is more than 5 number of reports that have been saved, that means 67% more customer retention rate. And if it is less than 5, 44% is bound to leave. So same way, weekly online usage, if it is more than 6 hours, that means he is expected to stay back. 63% he is expected to stay back. And all this comes from the data that you have got. How well you are able to analyze it and draw it in the form of a decision tree. And you are not going to do it as a manual activity. That's where the programming languages like Python, R will be able to help you to draw this decision tree completely. And by looking at it in this format, as I pointed out as an advantage for decision tree, you can actually understand and realize why you are getting certain results. And this will help you to explain to the customer on why a particular accuracy is coming up and what are the variables which are contributing to that particular accuracy, the number that you have given as the final output. I hope you have understood customer churn using decision tree, and I hope you have understood the basics of decision tree as a concept here. And decision tree is one of the most popular algorithms in the market today, because complex algorithms like random forest evolves from this concept of decision tree. So I would request you to read more about decision tree, understand how the practical problems are solved with the help of decision tree. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you learned something new.